Hello, hello, hello. Hey,
Hello.
family.
Hello, how you doing?
We are having various technical difficulties today. But we did not want to disappoint you because we weren't here last week.
Yes.
And so instead of being able to come before you on the Black and Married with Kid platform, we are using our own personal page. We've had quite a few technical difficulties. But I'm not going to take the time to explain them to you because we're already a little bit late. So come on in the room, come on in the room, come on in the room, tag somebody. In fact, if you don't mind, I'm going to tag a few people myself just because people aren't used to seeing me here. So come on in the room, come on in the room. While you're coming in, take a moment and drop in the chat where you are from, what state you are from. If you are part of our regular family and you are here every week, I want you to drop a 0 in the chat. Just so we can thank you for always coming back week after week after week. And if you are brand new, if you've never seen either one of us before, and you say, well, who are these people? You might can tell a little bit better now because we're on a personal page.
Yes.
But I am Barbara Milburn.
And I'm Joe Milburn.
And together we are
Team Milburn.
And we are here with you this afternoon for another episode at Marriage Over 70. Like technical difficulties, technical difficulties, technical difficulties. That's what we have been having. Just to give you a little brief background, normally we come to you on the Black and Married with Kids platform. Today I got ready to go live and it says, no, you cannot do this. Well, earlier this week I did have some issues with a particular incident where they had shut down all of my pages, my personal page, my Hope and Grief page, my Ride or Die page, which is the page that I memorialized and took over for Gary. It had cut us all out. And so I had to go through a process of explaining why I thought they were wrong and asking them to reevaluate me, which they did. And they found that I was not at fault. And they opened back up all of my pages. So I just assumed, and you know what we say about assumes, I just assumed that my Black and Married with Kid page would work just fine until today I got ready to log on and it says, no, not happening. So come on in, come on in. Somebody tag everybody for me because nobody is looking for us. Hey Lillian, that's my Erin. She always got my back. Lillian, tag some people for me. Maybe they can find us. If they can't get us live, maybe they'll come back on the replay. But we didn't want to disappoint you guys because we did a whole pretty post early this morning saying that we were going to be here. And I really love this topic. And the topic has to do with setting boundaries in a marriage. And if you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. So come on in, come on in. Everybody who's listening to the sound of my voice, just tag a few people. Hopefully we'll get enough people in who can participate and help us to have a lively conversation. And I want you guys to put it in the chat after you've done all those other things that I just asked you to do. Put in the chat, what do you think? Are boundaries needed in a male-female relationship? We're talking about husband and wife, but it could be girlfriend and boyfriend. It could be, you know, two people who are planning to get married. What boundaries do you have to set when it comes to the opposite sex? Now, personally, I think that men's perception on this and the woman's perception on this is totally opposite. I don't like to say this, but guys, sometimes you guys can be a little bit naive. Especially if you have a good heart like this one, you know, and you're always trying to be nice and you're always trying to be polite and you're always trying to be helpful. And a lot of women who have, per se, the Jezebel spirit or the Delilah spirit, you know, they're really looking for an easy way in. And my mother used to always say, well, my grandmother, because my mother didn't go to church, but my grandmother used to always say, all you got to do is give the enemy just a little bit of a foothold. And once he gets his foot in the door, then he got you. And a lot of times I have seen where men have been played upon their sympathies. Especially women who may have issues with whatever it is. It could be maybe their husband, maybe they're in a domestic violence situation, maybe they come to work with a black eye, you know, or on a bruised lip. and the guy being nice, well, oh, what happened to you? And then the next thing you know, you've gotten into a long conversation, and then every day she's coming back pouring into this man, and every day he's trying to give her some sympathy, but she's not taking it as sympathy, she's taking it as something else. And a lot of times they can get caught up into situations in that manner because all they're really trying to do is be helpful. So from a woman's perspective, from my perspective, I really believe that there should be certain boundaries. I have one friend, and I will not mention her name, but she and myself and Joe were friends years ago when Joe and I were a couple, back in the day. She had been with us basically all throughout our relationship, was a very good friends. But when Joe and I went through that period, my wilderness period, when we were separated, she was still friends with Joe, but of course she wasn't really talking to me because she was his friend before she was my friend. And I got that. The girl is married. There was nothing that I ever thought was wrong or inappropriate in their relationship as friends. But when Joe and I got back together, she insisted on coming to me and saying, is it okay that I talk to your husband? And I thought that that was very big of her, but a lot of women don't think that way. A lot of women think, well, I can talk to whoever I want to and da-da-da. But I don't think it's a matter of trust. It's a matter of protecting what you have. And I look at it like this. You have a house. You love your house. And you want everything in it to remain yours. So when you leave, you don't leave the door wide open. You don't go to bed at night without locking up. So the same thing, your husband, your wife, you love that person. You respect them. You are in a committed relationship and you want it to stay that way. You don't want other influences coming in trying to tear you apart. So the same way you lock up your house before you go to bed, you protect your relationship with your spouse without allowing outside influences to come in and tear you the other way, just to disrupt what would be normally a happy home. So that's just one of my perspectives. I'm going to let Joe talk for a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and maybe share another story or two, because I got a bunch of them. I got a bunch of them. I'm going to tag some people while Joe's doing that. If you haven't already tagged somebody, please do that. As I said before, we're doing this on our personal platform, right. So I have to kind of deviate a little bit and not really say where we normally are, because we're not there. Today we're doing it live from our page because we didn't want to miss you guys another week, and I know our followers will find us eventually. So Joe, tell them what you think as we talk about boundaries and should they be set between the opposite sex.
Yes. When I think of boundaries in a marriage, I think of structure, not walls to block you, but make you a little more structured so you can keep your marriage stable. And like you were saying, boundaries, people take kindness for weakness.
A lot of times.
And they also listen to your complaints about your spouse, and they try to move in, and that's where your boundaries should come out, and it should stop, because now you see what their intent is.
Right.
But also a lot of times people will give them a lot of information to do this, and you should keep your problems within your relationship instead of spread.
Within the relationship.
Right.
Don't go spreading them around to other people and asking for other folks' advice.
Yes. A
lot of times their advice ain't really worth a hill of beans, and they probably have maybe not even gone through that situation. So and definitely, and I said this before, ladies, last week, don't go ask your single girlfriends. I don't mean no harm. They're your girlfriends and they're for a purpose, but I have had single girlfriends deliberately tell me things. Jealousy, because I was with somebody and they weren't. Actually, sometimes they were an occasion or two where they were actually after the person that I was with. So anything that they could tell me to lead me astray left it wide open for them to move on in.
Move on in, And a lot of time, boundaries guards, guardrails, and it guards against misinterpretation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? A clear boundary ensures the friend, the acquaintance, the co-worker don't misread your kindness or your mentorship as a romantic interest.
Right.
Because a lot of people will take that, they just kind of just, what I want to say, they just beam on your
They want to take advantage of your
misfortunes.
They pretend that they're being your friend, and they want to listen and they want to help, but really their motives aren't really pure.
They either want to move in on you or move in on your partner.
Right.
It goes both ways.
It does go both ways.
You got to be careful of the information that you give out.
And I think that sometimes as a couple, we will think, or I could think, let's say me, for example, I'll say, well, Joe should be stronger than that. He shouldn't allow himself, maybe that's a good way to put it. He shouldn't allow himself to be tempted. But being misunderstood is different. And wisdom doesn't ask you, how far can I get to that edge and still resist? Wisdom asks you to protect what God has blessed you with. A lot of times it's the thrill, how close can I get and can still back up, can still turn it off. But then you're putting yourself really in God's position because you can't control all things. Only God can do that.
Sure.
You think I can resist, or I can say no, or I can walk away. And a lot of times when we start putting the I can do and the I, then we're on pride. And God will show you where your pride will take you, because pride comes before the great fall. That's biblical. That's scriptural. It says that all the time. You get so proudful, I can do this. Well, I can walk away anytime I want. Well, I can turn her off anytime I want. You're being prideful. You're thinking more of yourself than you really are. So guys, drop it in the chat. Somebody tell me what they think. Somebody tell me if there's been an experience in their life where you felt like you were just maybe taken advantage of your kindness. You were just trying to be kind. You were just trying to be helpful. A lot of men, especially the older generation, I'm not going to speak so much for the millennials, but a lot of the men in the older generation, they still have, what is it they call men when they open the door and help you with things, and it's a word for that.
I know.
But like, for example, I'm going to give you a good example. Chivalry is not always dead. When I was still working, and I used to work at the nursing home, and one day I was at work and it started snowing during my shift. So I guess by the time I got ready to get off, we may have had about 2, maybe 4 inches on the ground. So it was at least 2 inches on the car. And all of my stuff was in the trunk because snow hadn't been forecasted that day. It wasn't expected, so I wasn't prepared. Well, one of the older gentlemen who lived upstairs on the 2nd floor, he would go out every day and do an errand. So when I saw him go out, I can't call his name right now. I said, "You going out in this bad weather?" "Oh, yeah, I got to do this every day. I'll be fine." So I hollered at him. I said, "Well, you be careful." I said, "I'll be gone when you get back." And he said, "What time you get off?" And I told him. And he said, "Okay." And he went on out the door. Never said anything to me about cleaning off my car. But by the time that I got outside, this man had already cleaned off my car, and there was working on cleaning off his car. Now, I know him all the time. We frequent each other all the time. But he could have misread my thank you as something different. I could have misread his being nice to me as something different. Because depending upon the mood that you're in, the situation that you're in at the time, maybe you had a fight with your wife or your husband before you came to work that day, and maybe you're feeling a little bit unappreciated, or you're feeling a little bit vulnerable, and so maybe you're taking that kindness for weakness. That's the kind of thing that gets you in trouble, and that's when the Jezebel spirit latches on and goes whichever way to the shift, whichever side, to pull in that hole, that the hole needs to be made bigger to ruin that relationship. Because the one thing that I do know for certain is that the enemy hates marriages. He hates marriages because God created them. He hates marriages because he does not want to see us to excel and to be loving and kind to each other. And marriage is not a cakewalk. Anybody who tells you that is giving you a fairy tale. And you know what I think about the fairy tales? You have to work at it every day. You have to choose each other every day. Every day when we get up, we purposely, intentionally, at some point in that day, maybe we might not say it early in the morning, but at some point during that day, he will say to me, I choose you. And I will say to him, I choose you. Because no matter what, we remember that we're a team.
Right. And
Joe Milburn, Barbara Milburn, Team Milburn, right? Yeah. We're a team. And we have to remember that we're working towards a common goal. And that common goal is never going to be met as long as we're fighting each other. Fighting each other.
And you know, with something you said about Jezebels and all the different spirits, you know, they are there every time you go out the door, you know, and like Pastor Stan and Pastor Gail always say, pray over your family.
Yes,
pray over your husband, pray over your wife, because they are out there, they are tempting, you know, and you can be thinking about nothing, and all of a sudden a situation comes up.
Right. Out of the blue.
Out of the blue.
Out of the blue.
Yes.
I believe the enemy does things like it to test you, to see where you are. But if you stay steadfast and keep your mind on Christ, and even pray under your breath. I pray under my breath all day long. You don't always have to be on your knees to be praying. I pray all throughout the day. And trust and boundaries, they're not opposites. They work together.
Right.
They work hand in hand. Emotional affairs. People don't believe that there's a such thing as an emotional affair. It's a true thing. And there was a court case where the woman laid out for the judge all of the things that the man did. And none of them were physical. All of them were emotional.
Yes.
And what the man said to the wife when she brought it to his attention was, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. Ain't no judge gonna believe nothing like that. But the judge did believe it. And this was a male. This judge wasn't a female. This judge did believe it. And not only did he grant her the divorce on emotional abuse, but he also asked her how much alimony did she want. When the male had told her, you ain't ever going to get alimony. In fact, what he told her was that she was going to have to pay him alimony and have him living in the spirit that he was accustomed to. Well, she laughed because she said, wait till we get to court. Well, the judge sided with her. It is. And sometimes that emotional affair, per se, can be more damaging than the physical affair. Because, truth be told, the physical thing is in and out. I don't mean no harm. It's going to take 5 minutes if it take that. And then it's over. Then 9 times out of 10, both her and him, or one of them, I'm not going to say which one, the one who got trapped, per se, is going to have a guilt. They're going to feel condemnation. So they're going to want, no, we can't do this again. We can't do this. We got to stop this. Well, okay, the one that's trying to keep it carried on, she going to keep trying. But then this person now has to fight against the temptation of going back because he's tested it one time. But that emotional thing, it's got you wrapped up in your head. You ain't got to be with them. You can talk to them on telephone. You can send them text. You can do all of that, and you still just get just as entwined as you would have gotten if it had been a physical thing. So what's everybody saying? I know I saw Tawana said that chivalry, that Derek was chivalrous. She said that's what caught her attention. Way to go, Derek.
And Valerie said some of the stuff that you was talking about happened to her.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And it's something that happens so, what's the word? Subtle, in a way. Because the enemy is subtle. That's how he gets you. He's not all in your face, because if he all in your face, you're going to be aware of him. But it's those subtle little cracks that he sneaks in. Maybe whispers something in your ear. Maybe somebody will go by you at the coffee pot at work. Somebody that you maybe not even pay attention to, but maybe they're wearing a special scent on that day. And the scent catches you up your nose, and the enemy will say, ooh, they sure smell good. So the next thing you know, you're talking to them. And then you're talking to them more than you normally talking to them.
Yes.
And then you're telling them your business. And then once you start telling them your business, then they all up in your business. And then they want to tell you what to do or what not to do or where to go and where not to go. And then the next thing you know, well maybe we can go out for coffee one time. And you think, oh, that's so innocent.
Innocent, right.
It's just coffee, right? But like I said, the enemy don't need but a crack. So me, for my perspective, I believe that boundaries should be set.
Yes.
And like I said, men sometimes think differently, but I think that it's a conversation that's worth having. There's Stephanie. Hey, Stephanie. Hey. I don't see Stephanie that often. Facebook got me locked up from her too. Me and Facebook be having some issues. But I'm glad to see you. I'm using Papa Joe's phone. That's why I got you today. Facebook has locked me out of Black and Married with Kids, and I did not want to go another week without coming on because I missed you all last week. Those of you who were not with us, because, you know, we had a grand time in the Lord in Atlanta, Georgia last weekend. So all of you guys that were there who are looking at me now, dropping in the chat and let me know what a good time you had, because we had a wonderful time. I was thinking about it earlier today. We got fed spiritually, physically, intellectually, and emotional.
Yes.
All that and a bag of chips. It was a powerful, powerful weekend. But we still miss being on this platform, and we were anxious to come back.
Yes.
And we were excited about this topic. And I didn't find out that I couldn't go live on the platform until about an hour before it's time. And I furiously sent Facebook some messages and they ain't answer me, and I sent out some other messages and nobody else answered me. So I say, so Joe, what do we do? And he said, well, let's skip it. And I was like, well, I don't want to skip it. And he says, well, maybe we should do that. And I was like, I don't want to do that either. So
and I said, try my phone.
And it worked, because before Joe couldn't do it on his phone because his account is so new. And because his account was so new, we never registered his email on the platform that we normally use, so I couldn't quick and change it. Plus, I would have need authorization to change it anyway from the powers that be. So I am not going to leave Pastor Dunamis D out today, even though we are not on the Black and Married with Kids platform. I want to acknowledge her and the great vessel that she is for the Lord. I want to thank her for seeing in us what we don't see in ourselves. I want to thank her for pushing us. And for knowing that we do have a heart for Christ, and that we want to learn all that we can about the kingdom. And we want to be able to express what we have learned to our friends and our family, because we don't want this journey to be just for us.
Right.
We want it to be for them too. You know, it's kind of sad when you're walking this journey and you believe in your heart that it's the right way, and it's the way that is going to be what God said he had for us. It's the way to get those things that God said he has had for us. It's the way to walk in the kingdom the way he wants us to. But you feel bad because your grandchildren or your nieces or nephews or even sisters and brothers, like they ain't trying to hear what you say and they're not listening. And so all we can do is just continually keep on planting the seed and know that God is going to come back at some point in time and water it. And in his time, which is always much better than our time, things are going to work out, because when that roll is called up yonder, as the song says, I want to be able to see my family and my loved ones there with me.
You know, I want to say something about our topic.
Okay.
You know, I used to do a lot of presentations, right? Wedding presentation. I go to the home and present what I have, and mostly it'd be women, you know, and when you get women together, you know, it'd be 2, 3, maybe 4 women, because they all want to hear, you know, just helping the bride. And I get some interesting conversations.
I'm sure.
You know, and they're trying to cut down the price, but they're trying to do all kinds of maneuvers.
Underhanded, so to speak?
Yes, underhanded.
Okay.
You know, I just said maneuver. But anyway, this one particular lady, she offered a whole lot of stuff, you know. I don't want to say the particulars, you know. And I said, you know, my wife is so beautiful. And I was just esteeming you high, you know.
She probably didn't know what to say, did she?
No, she didn't.
I know.
She said, why are you talking about your wife? You know, and I said, well, because that's my ride or die, you know. I said, in fact, she's going to be with me when I come and do the wedding, you know, and you'll get a chance to meet her, you know, and stuff like that. They cut it
off
right there.
That's what, like, what's the scripture say? Resist the devil and he will flee.
Yes.
And that's why I say all the time, and I said this, I was fortunate enough to be on Healing for My Soul podcast maybe 6-8 weeks ago. I can't remember what it was. But I was saying that if women or men, but I was speaking of women because I can always only speak for myself. If a man approaches me and I know that this man is married and he wants to wine and dine me and take me out or whatever, if I just politely say to him, why don't you go take your wife out? Like what you just did. Don't entertain that.
Exactly.
Because when you entertain it, you wind up getting caught up in a web. Remember the movie when we were children, Charlotte's Web? Oh, what a tangled web we weave when we practice to deceive. Why would you want to deceive your teammate? Why would you want to deceive your ride or die?
Right.
The person that is most important in your life. Because those flings, honestly, there have been a few of them that have turned into something more serious. But most of them don't amount to nothing. And as the older women used to say when I was coming up, if you got him and it was a cheat relationship, you know, if he stole you from your husband, what's the not keep him from stealing somebody else when he gets tired of you, and vice versa? Because usually that's not the first time that has happened. And they're going to do it again because it's like a cycle. They're feeding their ego.
Yes. I did it once. I can do it again.
I can do it again.
Let's see if I can do it better this time.
Yes. And like how many notches can you get in your belt? And then the woman who is usually the most emotional is caught up because now she's all entangled with this man who's married to somebody else, and then he done got tired of her and moved on to the next one, and then she's out on the cold. The wife still don't know what's going on, and it's just a continuous cycle. So rather than to do that, just respect your partner.
Yes.
And do what Joe said, and turn them off. You can turn them off nicely. I think that was a very nice way to do it. You know, well, my wife is home waiting for me. Wait a minute, that's her calling me right now.
You don't have to be.
Don't entertain those types of things.
Right.
So we appreciate you guys being available to pivot today.
Yes, thank you.
And to be able to switch over on the personal page and catch up with us. And hey, Chandrea, how you doing?
Hello.
And hey, Demeter, how you doing? I see so many names, and Joe said, well, will anybody find us? And I said, well, really, more people will probably find us here than they will on the Black and Married with page because they both have personal pages. And when they see Joe Milburn going live or Barbara Milburn going live, they jump right on it. But when they see the other name come up, they was like, I'll catch that later. So there go Jackie. Hey, Jackie. See, we got a lot of visits today. So guys, I want to thank you for just being flexible and coming on to view us today. Thank you again for your willingness to be here, not only this Saturday, but every Saturday. I'm going to ask that you pray with me that I can figure out what the heck is going on with Facebook, and maybe next week we'll be back on the platform that we're supposed to be on. But even though we're not, I still want to pay homage to Pastor B, because she has given us this opportunity to be on Black and Married with Kids. It's because of her that you guys are really following us, because we would not have been doing this podcast if it had not been for Pastor D. So thank you, Pastor D. Mama D, I like to call her because she's my spiritual mother. Thank you, Ariel. They are the owners and co-owners of Black and Married with Kids. And hopefully next week when we come on Saturday, we will have figured out what is going on, and we'll be back on the platform that we're supposed to be on. But again, we did not want to leave you hanging today, and we knew that this was a topic that was going to spark some conversation. And even though it's about time for us to log off, I still want you guys to put in the chat, hey, John.
John.
Hey.
John Carter.
My son. What's up? What's up? Drop in the chat if there was anything that we said that really resonated with you guys. Drop it in the chat if you have some comments on your thoughts about whether or not boundaries should be set. If you think you should be able to trust your mate, whatever it is that you feel, I want you to just put it there, because we can talk things out sometimes and make it make sense. Sometimes if we keep it up in our head and just let it roll around and around, it makes no sense at all. And all we're doing is just fueling the fire, and the enemy is using our emotions and our overthinking to make the situation way bigger than it really is. We got to learn how to nip this stuff in the bud. Like Joe said, cut it off. This is not happening.
Right.
You go home to your husband. I'm going home to my wife. Shut it down. Shut it down. Don't let your kindness be used for weakness. Don't let people take advantage of you, because the enemy is always trying to get us. He's awake day and night trying to figure out whom he may devour. But the key to that scripture, I think, is that it says he's walking around like a roaring lion. He ain't for real. He just pretend. So when he roar at you, you roar right on back at him. Okay? So guys, thanks for checking in. We appreciate you so much. Hopefully, what did I forget?
Nothing. You didn't forget anything, but I just want you to make clear your answer to boundaries. Necessary.
My answer to boundaries is they are necessary.
And mine is yes, they are necessary.
Yeah, I think that they need to be spoken. And boundaries don't mean that I don't trust you. I think boundaries are just a border, a fence. It's a fence around your house. How about that?
It's a protection of your relationship. You know.
When Joe and I first moved into this house, I told him I wanted a white picket fence. And Joe built me a white picket fence. That meant that when somebody came in, they had to open their gate and enter. They couldn't just come on up to the porch. So put a fence around your relationship. Nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't mean you don't trust. It doesn't mean that there's a problem. It just means that you're protecting what you love.
That's it.
All right?
Right.
Okay, guys. Love you bunches. See you next week. And hope I can get my Facebook issues sorted out. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.